entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. So excited to be here with you each and every week, bringing on and talking to great business leaders and business owners in our community to talk about their products and services, but really has a great opportunity to learn from them, for them to share their stories with us. And I'm a firm believer we can learn so much from each other. So again, thank you for being with us. You can check out edgebusinessmagazine.com for more information. Ultimately, Edge is a multi-platform media company that is specifically designed to assist small business owners with gaining a voice and visibility and influence in the community. Again, check out edgebusinessmagazine.com for some more information. Would love for you to subscribe to our magazine. Each quarter, we bring to you some great editorial, great features, great contributing writers. Really excited to have had the magazine publishing now for the last, since 2015, I think is when we launched the magazine piece of it. So anyway, check it out. Subscribe today so you'll never miss an issue. Again, edgebusinessmagazine.com. So we've got a new, you didn't make it to our last launch party, but you definitely make sure we'll get you the next one. Anyway, Mit Patel is our guest today. Great friend of mine, CEO of Mit Computers. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mit.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm great to. I always want to say one of my favorite people, but I have many favorite people. But again, just thrilled to have you on. Mit has been a supporter and participant of Edge for years. I don't know. Edge will be 6 in September, so it's been, I don't know, probably at least 5 at least.
Yep.
So it's been quite a long time, so definitely appreciate your support. And he's taken tickets at events for me, and you've kind of played, done all the roles at the events and different things, so appreciate that very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
But I was giving him a hard time because he didn't make it out. I think you were traveling for our last launch party that we did May 2nd, which was from the last magazine issue with Malio and Carmine Ivoroni. I'm really excited. Yesterday, we just shot our front cover feature stuff for the new issue coming out. It will be released about mid-August, but it is our first annual celebration of women. So really excited about this. There are so many great women in this community, and it was really tough to decide who to feature, which is why we came up with the idea for it to be our first annual. So looking forward to future years of celebrating women in our community. So some more information will be coming out with that soon, but I will say we've got 10 women selected and featured, and Mayor Jane Castor is one of our great, phenomenal women, and that we're sharing some of her story on. So again, lots of excitement stuff going on. So what about you? How's your summer so far?
So far, so good. Weather's been pretty polite so far.
You think?
I guess our hurricane seasons hasn't really started kicking
thankfully
off.
We're not there
yet. So that's been good. It's been hot.
Yeah.
It's definitely been hotter than normal.
Yeah.
But not as much rain, I think, than we used to. But every time I'm in one of these studios, I always get amazed by the bright lights and there's no teleprompter. I'm like, how did Kelly just do that piece? And there's nobody telling her what to do. She's not reading off something else. It's just a good skill, and you appreciate the people that work in the media and on live TV all the time, and how difficult it is to do that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I like to talk, and I'm so passionate about what I do and about the business, so it makes it easier. But maybe, I don't know.
And I remember the first time I met you, that's what kind of caught my eye. This was in a store called Bow Concept. They're no longer around in Channelside.
I remember.
And there was an event there, and you was there, and I was like, yeah, she's got that passion and energy that entrepreneurs have, and it's so easy to spot out when you're among them. But it's such a rare gift that people have.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's why we gravitated toward each other. When you find like-minded people, it's that have similar interests and passions and outlooks on life. I think that you do gravitate toward one another, which is really what Edge has been all about the last almost 6 years now, is bringing these people together. And even when we launched Edge, it was really about events. It was membership. It was mentorship. It was really just bringing these great people together. And then I knew I always wanted to have the magazine component. I love the publishing piece of it, and had a publication prior to that. But that gave me an opportunity to launch the magazine and really just focus on, again, sharing these stories of great people. And I always joke, crazy people like me, that are out there and trying to make a difference in other people's lives. So, but you started out so young with Mit Computers. So talk a little bit about that and how old you were. And although you still look like you're 21,
Thank you, that's so sweet.
but
it was when I first got my computer. This is in the mid '90s. I was maybe 15 years old.
Yeah,
and
like
it
high
was
school-ish.
Yeah, definitely. It was sophomore year in high school actually, and it was just something that was just cool and happening at the time. It's just starting to really appear in people's homes, the good old dial-up days, and it just caught me at the right time to where I became very curious, and I just kind of almost like fell in love with the product and just the engineering aspect, and I like building things. So I started tinkering around with it, and after I became real fast an expert and everybody was coming to me for advice, I'm like, you know what? I need to make some money. I'm almost 16 now. Let's charge for this, you know?
Right.
So I founded my company in 1997. So we are 2019? 22?
Yeah.
22 years now.
Yeah.
May of 1997. So along the way, 22 years, we've had many ups and downs.
Of course.
And but you learn along the way, and I feel, even though I'm still very young as far as age and business, but I've got a lot of experience in what I do, and we're still probably one of the oldest surviving computer stores or electronic stores or repairs, like we used to say, or like we like to say, in Tampa, and a lot of them have gone or vanished the way that Circuit City has and CompUSA has. So it's kind of a little prideful that we're still around and we're still here, and that's,
well, that says
good.
something, most definitely.
Yeah.
22 years is a long time to do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is. And, one of the unique things, and I think that is where it makes, you have to try to figure out how to stay in business, right? And how to continue to renew yourself and follow future trends. And I think that's been one of the good things that you've been good at as well.
Yeah,
With your memberships
evolving.
right.
When we first started out, we were selling a ton of custom computers. Came to a point where, Dell started commoditizing the item to a point where you're getting computers for $500-600, and we switched from more sales to service. We came, a lot more service oriented, and then around 2007, 2008, Apple changed the industry a little bit with the iPhone.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, they changed a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. and the smartphone tablet revolution started, and it kind of took the prominence away from computers as much, and it became more of a phone-connected world. And so we had to adapt in that sense, and we started doing cell phone repairs and working in that arena to stay alive. So, as soon as you feel like you've mastered or made it in a particular area, the industry will hit you and say, hey, no, you got to keep evolving, you got to keep learning.
I think that is a key and a great advice for any industry that you're in. Never get too comfortable.
And not just tech, marketing. When we first started out, it was more print and marketing and billboards and radio. And with the phone and the digital, it became more online and social media, all within the last 5 to 7 years.
I can only imagine in 22 years the change that you've seen in the way we do everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's how you process the transaction in the store. I mean, all of that.
Yep. To contactless, when we first started, it was a lot of cash still. And checks. I still remember the checks. And checks are gone. If I see a check, I'm like, oh, what is this?
Right.
Yeah. And at least you don't have to worry about check fraud, which was a thing back when I started in the late 90s, And now with contactless and seamless, it's all paperless. So we used to have a ton of paper in our stores, and to now we don't have to really store digital paper, the paper anymore because it's all digitized.
Right.
Yeah, just the little things like that. Just the industry is going that way.
Well, tell us a little bit about your memberships that you offer.
Yeah, so we started something a few years ago, which is pretty unique, where we do our tech club membership. So we saw a need that a lot of people had tech issues, but they didn't want to bring it into a store to an IT guy because they were worried about spending a lot of money.
Right.
And it could be
Well, a lot of people don't have the budget either.
Yeah. Every time they come in, they didn't want to spend $100, $200, especially over small items. So we created a membership where you pay a flat fee. Membership start at $200 and include up to 3 devices. And you can bring your device in unlimited amount of times, and the labor is covered for most repairs. So if you have an annoying issue, there's something's quirky not working, bring it in. We'll take care of it if you're on the membership, and you don't have to worry about spending hundreds of dollars on that repair. So it's a great feature to have, and I think clients that use it on the membership really do value it.
Oh, absolutely. I think you can definitely get your money from it. And you have, like I said, you have multiple plans or memberships that cover multiple devices or multiple, depending on how many that you want.
Correct. Yep. We have plans for small businesses, for families with more devices, which makes sense, especially if you got young kids or kids on the computers getting viruses and that's
hopefully that. Well, I guess I don't know. I was going to say hopefully that's evolved some too with the security issues. I know my daughter was always bad at that. And,
there's always spyware and viruses.
Right.
That's a constant battle out there.
That's always say, don't touch my stuff. You stay on your own because I don't trust if you start it's a shame. But
and now the age we're in, it was a point where there was only one computer in the family, and that was it. And now it's multiple, and not just computers, multiple phones, multiple tablets. You might have 10 connected devices in your home, as far as electronics, and even more.
Right. No, and I think a lot of a lot of small businesses don't have the money or the budget yet as they're beginning and then growing to have an IT department on staff. So it's great that you provide those options for them to kind of have somebody on call, and you're able to even remotely help them, so they don't necessarily have to come in.
We can. Most of the things that we do is break fix, and it's typically stuff that doesn't power on, and you can't do a remote session on it. So we always encourage our customers to come on in. There's no appointments. We're retail based. We have 4 locations throughout Tampa Bay. 10 a.m., 7 p.m. You can come in, no appointment, and we'll take a look at your device and kind of go from there and see what you need to get it going.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk more with Mit Patel when we come back. Don't go far.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you again so much for being with us today, joined by my great friend, Mit Patel, CEO from Mit Computers. So thanks again for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Hopefully during the break, you took some time to check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. We were talking about the memberships with Mit Computers, but we're very excited with Edge to have our new community partnerships. So definitely invite you to check that out. It does include annual spots on Getting the Edge, contributing writing opportunities for our quarterly publications, and also for our online newsletters. Also, a lot of other great features. We're launching a new online business directory. So again, check it out for more information, edgebusinessmagazine.com. If you'd be interested in being a guest on the show, you can email us at info@edgebusinessmagazine.com. So again, really excited to have you on the show. Again, we've actually I wish we had like even longer to talk about. You know, you and I can sit and talk for hours and hours. In fact, I hate getting on the phone with you sometimes because we would literally sit there, and before I know it, 2 hours have passed. And not that I've lost it, but I'm like, now I'm 2 hours behind trying to get all the stuff done that I'm doing. But once you and I get started, but it's, again, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier, when you find like-minded people, or we can bounce ideas and talk and really, I think, inspire one another. So, again, excited that you've been on and part of Edge for a long time. We were talking, what's your thoughts on community and just some of the benefits that you've seen with being a part?
Being in Tampa for so long and seeing the entrepreneurial community grow, going to USF, I grew up here, local kid, high school, went to USF and got both my undergrad and graduate degree here and majored in entrepreneurship at USF. So I kept tabs on the business community from the outside in, from the inside out, and just seeing the growth there is here. And there's a lot of exciting things going on in Tampa. Yeah. We still do need growth in certain areas and in infrastructure, but we've got a lot going for ourselves. And the community is so small. The business community here in Tampa, as other communities, is very close-knit. They're very helpful. They're very supportive of each other, and really do want to see others succeed, and which I feel is great because we're a growing city in that sense. We've got a national presence, top 20 city in the U.S., but it still feels like a small town, and that networking and that camaraderie is still there. You can still know people pretty much everywhere you go, or any business or networking events. You're gonna most likely know somebody from a previous event.
Yeah, community is so important. And I think the older I get, the more, the more ownership I feel like I claim in my community. I think you feel that. But it really is, Tampa is amazing. It's funny, and that kind of shows our age difference, but it's wonderful to hear you say, and I've always enjoyed or like that, as far as you graduated with a degree in entrepreneurship. When I was in school, that wasn't even thought of.
Yeah.
And really just being a decade ahead of you, that shows great strides, I think.
It's so new, right? Even the program, and then I put a plug in for USF. They've done a great job with the entrepreneurship program. They're constantly ranked in the top 25 every year, amongst schools like Babson and Harvard, and one of the shining lights in the School of Business over there is the entrepreneurship program, and Dr. Fountain, the director, has done a great job building that program up for the community. And when I saw that, it was the first time they actually had a master's degree based on entrepreneurship and not just your typical MBA and managing others. And I thought, that's something that appealed to me. And now it's kind of caught on. Most major universities have either a certificate or even a degree across the nation. You're seeing more and more of these entrepreneurial classes at least become very popular among students. And people realize that the benefits of, even aspiring to be entrepreneurial within a company or out is something that's very desired. And if people don't make that jump, start their own business, it's something that's always been in someone's back of their mind. It's a matter of getting the guts or the passion behind something to do it. But a lot of people in business school have thought about owning their own business or would want to do that.
Right. No, I think, first, I think it's great that is accepted and encouraged with young people and with everyone today of any age. It's really, we have these ideas, and it's great to be a company and represent a company and have founded a company that represents people in doing so. But you mentioned USF, and really excited and proud to be a partner of USF, Muma College of Business. So we're really excited. We're at all of their events that they do, and it is a great organization over there. Not as familiar with their entrepreneurship school, which I would love to become more so in the future. But the business school and Dean Lamayam over there and their whole team is just amazing. They have, just a little plug for them, they have a lot of conversations with CEOs that are interesting, and they've got some great ones coming up in the fall. The CEO of Hershey Chocolate is coming in, and the CEO of I think Tech Data is also going to be presenting. So something to look at and plan on attending this fall. So again, community is really important. So if it's not Edge, look into getting and uniting and being a part of something within the community. So, and somebody that can give you that encouragement that you need and that unity. Maybe
it kind of gives us an interesting segue to my current passion project, and I know you've been one of the, or at least a supporter in my endeavor with the transportation projects that DOT has been touting around here for 4 or 5 years, and the impacts to the community. Many viewers may know about what they used to call the Tampa Bay Express Project, or TBX,
right,
which a lot of the community has been adamantly against. And I was one of the forefront, I still am one of the forefronts of that movement of getting smarter, better transportation solutions besides toll roads on our interstate. And that's something that we as a community are very, very passionate about all along Tampa, from from all the connecting communities. And we've seen communities combine and come together over something that affects them, and also that's something that affects the whole region in general. And it's really been something that I've enjoyed doing, and I've learned so much about this area and this community, and I'm so proud of them for that.
Yeah, and it's great to see you so passionate about the community and getting behind something. And I try to stay neutral with everything, but there are definitely some issues there that need to be addressed. So
being a business owner, a lot of times the mantra is really just stay out of the political, the community, because it's not a lot of there's not a win. You don't want to take stances and alienate a population against your product or service, So it takes a lot of guts for someone that is in the limelight or someone like that, because they could pay, the financial windfall or even the payback from the populace or it could be large. So I respect individuals that do that.
Yeah, well,
because they pay the price, and whether you agree or not, the fact that they did that.
Right. And thankfully, there are people like you and someone else I was talking to the other day. Thankfully, we all have those things that really get us going, that we stand up for. And there's enough of us that are there doing that, and we can definitely step in, when we're called upon, and when we feel that need to. So just to kind of utilize a few minutes with you two before, and actually before we go, where can people, if they're confused by TBX Next and all the information, where's a resource that they can go to get the right information?
So, the DOT does have their website, which is
is it neutral?
No, it's definitely, obviously they want to move their product. It's not neutral. I almost call it propaganda, because it's it's definitely not what they're touting. But we do have a website called stoptbx.com, which also is not neutral. It's definitely going to tell you what our side of the story. And in this side, you're most likely going to have either one or the other. Like, what are the benefits? And what I would say is people to do their research. Go to our website, go to DOT website, go to community meetings. It's huge. There's nothing bigger than the TBX, so they call it Tampa Bay Next, as far as our transportation planning, because everything is centered around it. So there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of activists out there that will tell you from our side of the story, and there's plenty of DOT employees or individuals going around selling their side.
Right.
So definitely come to a workshop. They have them, almost every month or every other month, and get involved. and make your decision based on informed decisions.
Right.
And that's all
I think
you
that's
can
the
ask
best
for.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, being in business 22 years, if you could go back to your younger self 22 years ago and give yourself any advice, what advice might that be?
Oh man, if I could go back and say, probably save more money. You know, I think when you're young, you feel like you're always going to be earning. It's always positive. There's always growth. There's always growth. You don't really plan for decline or the next step. And if I could have put away a little bit more, that might have been a wiser thing to do.
Well, that's great advice. Over 22 years, you've grown teams and you've staffed stores. What are some tips you can provide to us? 'Cause that's one of the biggest problems people face is employees.
You know, relationships are key. I've always been fair, not just to my vendors, to my customers, to my employees, but to the community. And it's not about profits, really. The profits will come if you're doing a fair job and taking care of customers. But old adage, you know, customer is always right. That's right. But you got to be fair to your employees. You can't let the customers center around and be the know-all. And you got to stand up for your guys, especially in retail. You know, I've heard stories that, you know, a lot of it's fabricated from customers. They did this, they did that, and then I hear both sides of the story, and I realize that my guy's not at fault. You know, and I'm like, you know, I got to stand up for him and let him know that I value him as much as I value the paying customer, because without either one, that relationship, the business would not be successful. So, you know, as a leader, you have to balance that with the community, with your own personnel, and also the people that are feeding you and that are your customers.
Right.
Yeah.
Quickly, before we run out of time, what are some of your favorite resources? Anything you like to enjoy reading? Favorite book?
I love to read. I love to read books on history. American history is big with me. I love entrepreneurial books too, business books. The current book I just finished reading is called Citizens of London, and it was about 3 famous Americans that were in London during World War II. One was an ambassador, one was a CBS news anchor that was very influential in getting getting the story from London over to America about what was actually happening in the war, because we were very, very against entering the war, and so distant to knowing what was happening in Europe. And these 3 gentlemen were always politicking in their jobs, taking stances that wasn't necessarily popular to try to get FDR and get our country to support England in the war.
So
it's a great story. And in fact, a couple of the individuals had relationships with Churchill's children, got married to one, and they became so close to the prime minister that they became family. Actually, 2 of them did so.
So what was the book called?
Citizens of London.
Citizens of London is Mit's suggestion for a summer read.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Obviously, again, love to have you on. We'll look forward to having you back on again soon. But mitcomputers.com for more information on Mit. In the meantime, check out edgebusinessmagazine.com, and we'll be back soon. Don't go far.
Finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. Really excited. It's been a great show today and really excited. I'm always getting excited. I always say my favorite people. I have so many favorite people. But Andy Gold just joined me on the show today. And he went through like a monsoon to get here.
There you go. That's Florida.
So excited. You've been on the show with me before and shared your wisdom with us. And really that's really what Edge is all about is learning from each other's journey and sharing that knowledge. And
yeah, I mean, I
You're
wouldn't
just
call
amazing.
it wisdom necessarily. But
I
try
would.
to share stories.
yeah, well, I think I definitely put it in the wisdom category. I've learned a lot from you, and I still do. You inspire me. You inspire so many people in our community.
Well, it's really nice of you to say.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
it's true.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, again, anytime. We'll have to bring you back more on. Would love to have you more regularly. Andy is one of our contributing writers for Edge Business Magazine.
Yep.
He wrote, I love when we get together and talk. I love serendipity. I love, you're my serendipitous, is that right? Is that a right word?
That's a word, yep.
Contributing writer, and I love that. You can't sit down with everyone all the time and people that think exactly the way you do and that, these bigger meanings of life and the universe are happening for certain reasons. And it's cool when you can sit down with somebody and they get that and they think it too. Some other people might think you're a little nuts and because you read so much into the way things are happening, but
yeah, I mean, I think if you ask anybody how they got to where they got to, wherever that might be, and they think back in
you can
time,
show them how
yeah.
things like, well, and that is, I've had the pleasure of interviewing many great people, and it's interesting. It's like as they share their story, it's like pieces of a puzzle coming together, and you can literally see then as they made this decision or this decision, it pushed down this path or up this path, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
But it happened for a reason.
For sure. There's a great story in one of Malcolm Gladwell's books called Outliers, which is a great book if you've never read it. He profiles different people, and one of the people he profiles is Bill Gates. And in that chapter, you learn that Bill Gates, when he was in 6th grade, was misbehaving in school, smart, but misbehaving. His parents took him out of public school. This was in 1969. And sent him to a private school in Seattle. And it just so happened that the school that they sent him to in 1969 was one of 4 schools in the United States that had what were called dumb terminals, which were essentially a computer monitor and a keyboard that were connected to a mainframe computer at a university, in this case, the University of Washington. So at a young age, at the age of 12, young Bill Gates had a chance to get exposure to computer programming that he would have never had the opportunity to have access to. And when he was interviewed by Malcolm Gladwell like a year later, he said, had I not misbehaved in middle school, we would not have Microsoft today, because he would have never had that exposure to that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I love it, because so many, even unfortunately, a lot of us, we go through horrific things in our life, and as we stay course and we look back, sometimes even those horrific times that we felt that they can turn out to be
I mean, I think
a blessing.
One of the things,
it's hard to say that, but
yeah, that's one way of looking at it. I think one of the things that we try to do is to break down the different myths that circulate around the world of entrepreneurship, and one of them is these aha moment kind of stories. If you ask the typical person about Bill Gates, brilliant computer geek, went to Harvard, dropped out, started Microsoft. I mean, that's basically what most people would say. But there's always a lot more to these stories than meets the eye, and serendipity in that case, as in many cases, is one of those stories. And I think when you really think about it and you talk to people that start businesses, there are so many random circumstances that lead to these great successes that we know of. So there is quite a bit of randomness involved in business enterprising.
I love it. Well, you'll have to, you can check out the online version that's free of Edge Business Magazine and Andy's article on
all about the Frisbee, the inventor of the Frisbee, and where it came from and how it happened.
Yeah, free online, or you can subscribe today for your personal printed copy delivered to your home or office. But yeah, that was a great story too, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. And the end of it, I don't know if you read the whole thing, but at the end, it turns out that there was a pie company in Connecticut called the Frisbee Pie Company. It was spelled a little differently, but that's where the idea really emanated from back in the day. They would throw pie tins around. They would yell out Frisbee, you know, to people so they wouldn't get hit in the head with this round tray.
Right.
But concurrently to that was this person in California who happened to be a veteran starting a business that he didn't really know existed, you know, just out of, you know, boredom, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have so many stories. Yep. I love it. You know, I'm going to put you on the spot and have you share some more with us as we go.
Okay.
But I love the fact too, you know, throughout the community, and Tampa is thriving with entrepreneurship, and it's great to be a part of that entrepreneurial community. But there's a lot of tech oriented. I think there's so much emphasis on tech and in different arenas where I think you have more of the funding and supporters behind it. But the everyday entrepreneur doesn't necessarily have those advocates for them, and you've definitely become one.
I think we're one of many. There's a lot of, you know, stakeholders in Tampa Bay that are helping to promote small business enterprising and are doing amazing things, you know, to get Tampa sort of as a foothold for that type of thing. But you're right. There's a lot of attention focused on on tech companies and, you know, scalable enterprises that are innovation driven, and for good reason. You know, a lot of people want those kinds of businesses in their community, and we have like a strong ecosystem that could support that. But what do you say to the person that doesn't want to start a business like that, but just wants to open up a bakery or a single shingle social media marketing company or a tattoo shop? Because there's not really a lot of resources readily available to that type of person. So that's kind of where we come in through Hillsborough Community College and the various programs that we offer, is to try to provide individuals who are sort of on the what we call the SME or small to medium sized enterprise side of entrepreneurship, the less sexy side of entrepreneurship, with all of these really robust opportunities and resources. So one thing we didn't talk about last time, but I wanted to mention that's been added to that pile of resources that we can provide to folks is the Everyday Entrepreneur Venture Fund. We were fortunate to apply for a grant through a small foundation up in Connecticut. We were one of 4 community colleges to receive a $250,000 matching gift to establish a seed fund. We've subsequently gotten the gift matched and more, so we're now up to a little over $500,000 in this seed fund. And it's
that's amazing.
It's cool. I mean, we're really excited about it. We've done 2 funding rounds so far, and to qualify, you have to complete one of our academic programs at the college. So we have a 12-credit certificate in entrepreneurship, which can be completed in 1 semester or 15 weeks. You take 4 classes, and the goal of that program is you either launch a company for real, develop a business that you already are working on, or just kill your idea because it's a horrific idea, which is what happens to a lot of students. But it's good because it creates efficiencies in the marketplace. But if you have a business that has some traction and you finish even a short 1-semester certificate in entrepreneurship, you qualify to apply for the Everyday Entrepreneur Venture Fund through HCC, and you can apply for up to $100,000 in funding. So it's been, you know, a really gratifying experience to get the funding, to get it matched, and then to give that opportunity to students that, you know, have really cool ideas.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing opportunity for everyone, you know, that can get involved. We had mentioned, well, I had a question. I can't remember what I was going to say. In regards to, so you said it was 1 semester or 16 hours.
We have a 12-credit certificate, which is 4 classes over 15 weeks. That step ladders into a 2-semester, 25-credit certificate in entrepreneurship. And those 2 certificates step ladder into the terminal degrees we have at a community college, which in our case are an Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees. We have both in entrepreneurship. So if you complete any one of those 4, a 2-year degree, a 1-year certificate, or a 1-semester certificate, you qualify to apply into that funding.
I think it's a great opportunity. I think a lot of times people want to start their own business, but not everyone is necessarily entrepreneurial minded. It takes a certain mindset to really be able to function, and not just because it's almost easier to get through the first year or two, maybe.
Yeah.
It's really hard, I think, when you get to that kind of like what we were talking about, that growth stage where you're then transitioning.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? So I think it could be beneficial for even seasoned people that have been in the business a few years that
Yep, and we
learn.
have like so many wraparound services through that. We have a center called Operation Startup, which was formed in 2016, and that's a collaboration between HCC and Hillsborough County. That operates out of Ybor City right now.
in the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center.
In the Collaborative Center, we're opening up a second location for Operation Startup in the fall, which will be housed at one of our campus locations. But that center offers to anybody, whether you're a student or a non-student, 20 to 30 workshops a month, which are free on many, many different topics related to entrepreneurship. It offers a co-working space. We have mentors and advisors that work directly with members of Operation Startup. So if you really are sort of on the periphery of entrepreneurship and you're kind of curious about it, it's a great place to start. There are a lot of partners with the county that are also in that building that offer a lot of services. So it's a really good place to start if you're just curious about.
It's got to have some great energy there.
Yeah.
I was just there yesterday, the other day for, I'm a part of the Ybor Chamber, and we had a meeting there. And it just great vibes and people walking by. But even when you walk in, you can see the different plaques that they have from all the different organizations in the community. And there are many of them.
There are, and they're all doing great stuff. Our emphasis is through at least that center serving veterans. That's been a primary service focus for us because we have about 3,000 veterans at HCC.
Vetrepreneurs.
Vetrepreneurs,
I like
that's
that.
right. Then we have social entrepreneurs. That's something that's personal to me. So starting a for-profit business that leverages profit for social good. And then the early stage everyday entrepreneur that we've talked about. So you don't have to be a student to engage with Operation Startup, but many of our students go there to work, and then many people become students because they go to Operation Startup and find out about our college credit
Well, I want
programs.
to talk a little bit more about the different brackets, the everyday and the social.
Sure.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be
Great.
right back. Don't go far. Andy Gold is here. We'll be
All
right
right.
back.
Finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much again for being with us. It's been a great show today.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have Andy Gold on. You're, again, just such an inspiration to all of us. So you are.
Thank you for saying
Tampa's
that.
a better place because Andy Gold is in it. I'll just leave it at that.
I always say it takes a village, so.
Yeah, no, it does, but I don't. We all, I think, excel because of each other and the support that we provide, and Tampa is a great place for that. It's great to have the support from the community.
By the way, this is an amazing studio you have here now.
Thank
I really
you.
love it.
Thank
It's
you.
really cool.
Thanks to WeBeam TV and Tampa Bay Multimedia. If you've watched any of the earlier shows, we were in Genghis Khan restaurant, which I love Genghis Khan. We love
Delicious
Ergen, or Ergen Tech over there. Definitely check out Genghis Khan, but really excited to be here. We've been a couple months now, but yeah, if you're looking for your own show, and this is not just a podcast, obviously. If you really want your own show and help have your voice heard in the community, reach out to Tampa Bay Multimedia, WeBeam TV, and for additional details. But John Gaston, who is the founder and owner there, is the best. So highly recommended. So yeah, thank you. I joked earlier, it's great though being in a controlled environment. We don't have any kids running into the set, and it's cool.
Yeah,
so
it's really
thank you.
nice. Yeah, very professional too.
Yeah, no, again, they're top notch. So very happy to be partnered with WeBeam TV and Tampa Bay Multimedia. So and with so much left, and we only have I think 10 minutes or so before the end of the show, but let's talk a little bit about Susie Steiner.
Okay.
And you spoke so highly of Susie. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to get to know her. Tell us a little bit about Susie Steiner and the event coming up.
Okay, so when I first moved down to Tampa from New York back in 2012, I didn't know anybody except my wife, Ann, and a couple of people who were on my hiring committee at Hillsborough Community College. So I was really wanting to try to build an entrepreneurship program at Hillsborough Community College. So I literally went onto LinkedIn and just started typing in, Entrepreneurs Tampa Bay. And this woman, Susie Steiner, kept popping up as being affiliated with different organizations, different companies, different groups. I figured she must be somebody.
Right. Someone good to know.
Yeah, so I contacted her through LinkedIn. This is a great LinkedIn story right here. So you should get them as a sponsor, right? Free
Definitely.
advertising, yeah.
Definitely.
So she gets right back to me. She says, "Oh, this is great having you in Tampa Bay. Meet me on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock in the beer can building." Yeah, and I was like, "Great! It sounds like a fun place. I have no idea where that is."
That's so funny. You had no idea, Sykes Building.
Right, yeah, I didn't know what that was, but I realized when I saw it, so I go up there, and it just so happened that the day I was meeting her, she was at the brand new office location for Tampa Bay Wave, which is a tech incubator here in Tampa Bay, and they were just opening.
Oh, wow.
So I walk in, and Susie had an office inside of the Wave. So I'm greeted and brought back to the back of their location at the time, and there's Linda Olson. She's the executive director of Tampa Bay Wave, and there's some people from the media, maybe 14 people there. And I walk in, and I'm wearing shorts, and I'm looking for Susie, and Susie's not there. She's late. So they're like, "Who are you?" So I just co-opted Linda. If you ask Linda about this story, she'll tell you, she'll remember it. I just started talking about all these things like I'm talking to you about, and all of a sudden the attention was shifted away from Linda and the opening of Tampa Bay Wave toward me, and I felt really bad about that.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
I love
it was just a side story. But anyway, Susie we hit it off and became fast friends, and she plugged me into the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I think without her involvement in our program, we wouldn't have a program at Hillsborough Community College for entrepreneurs, at least not to the extent that we have it. She plugged us into friends of hers. This is how I met a woman that's in the studio here, who Lisa Demi, who I somehow met through that circle. I can't remember exactly now. I won't ask you to answer. But Lisa and many other people that she plugged me into really helped to lift up our program, give us connectivity into the community, and most importantly, help our students.
That's amazing.
So we got a small grant from the Coleman Foundation, a $15,000 grant, and the capstone of that grant was going to be to have an end-of-year event called the Community Impact Award Breakfast, and our students were going to vote on that community partner that was most beneficial to them throughout the year. So our students voted. They voted for Susie because she was there all the time.
Right.
And then tragically, like a month after that, before the actual event, she passed away.
Oh my! And so what? Cancer or what? What was wrong?
It was just like a sudden thing.
Oh,
that
was
happened.
it?
It was just like
Oh, my goodness.
unforeseen kind of sudden thing. So we reached out to her family and we said, look, she won, but we don't want to place you, your family in a bad situation. So we can just cancel the event. We can just give you the award privately. So they encouraged us to have the event nevertheless. So we had the event. It was, very emotionally charged, as you could probably imagine, but a really good cathartic experience, I think, for her family. And we felt really good about that. So at the end of the event, her longtime boyfriend at the time came up to us and said, how much did this event cost? So we told him about it. So he said, well, look, if you're willing to change the name of it to the Susie Steiner Community Impact Award Breakfast, I'll give you a gift in perpetuity of $15,000 to pay for this each year.
Oh my goodness.
Which is what he did. He's very, very generous. And we now have the event named in her honor, but it's the same spirit, to recognize all of our community partners, but to have our students focus in on the one that they felt was most impactful. So this year's event is our 6th annual Susie Steiner Community Impact Award Breakfast. I know it's a mouthful.
6th annual.
6th annual.
Oh, man.
It's Friday, August 30th from 8 to 10 a.m. If you're interested in learning more about it, please reach out to me and I can give you a link to the website for the event if you'd be interested in attending. We're selling tables this year to raise more money for our students. So if you want to buy a table or even just come as a guest, that would be awesome.
That's amazing. So, and what a great opportunity and for her boyfriend, or right at the time, Mike, to be able then, and each year he can.
Yeah, I don't mention his name because he's like one of these guys that just doesn't want recognition for those kinds of things. But he's an amazing man.
Yeah, no, and it's just a great, a great way that he can, year after year, stay involved and give back.
Exactly.
So, just one of the many things that you're, so amazingly involved in.
Yeah. I'm lucky to have these opportunities.
Right.
But I believe strongly that to get these opportunities, you have to have results. And, we've been fortunate to have some really good results with our different programs. But we're also willing to just give things a go and try. And many of the things we do don't work out. But we learn a lot through those experiences. So I think that's the key. You got to try to do something and run the risk of it. And we talked about that at our last chat that we had about this fear of failure that people have. And I think it's a real barrier to innovation.
Absolutely. And hopefully organizations like yourself and even hopefully some of the great advice that we share through here, through all the great guests that we have, that we're able to hopefully maybe help people, through overcoming some of that fear.
Yeah. I think I've been helped by so many people. I still am.
Yeah.
And
I am as well. And everything that we want is truly on the other side of what terrifies us.
Right, exactly.
It really is.
But I think the key is, like I always say when we have guest speakers come in to speak in front of our students, before we start those events, I always try to remember to tell students that these people are here as volunteers. And that when you're ever in a situation later on in your careers and someone says to you, hey, will you come speak at my college or my classroom or my company, that you'll hopefully always say yes and pay it forward because all these people give so much to us, and without their support, we would have nothing.
Right. Wow. Again, he's just amazing. Tell us a little bit about the personal finance that we talked about a little bit.
So personal finance is another passion of mine, but a really important issue facing the country. Americans have so many personal financial challenges. So I was fortunate to be accepted into a fellowship program through an organization called Next Gen Personal Finance. Their website is ngpf.org. And what they do is they set up a curriculum for free, available to K through 12 educators, and really any educator that wants to access it, but their main emphasis is K through 12. And what they're trying to do is educate young people about the importance of personal finance early on in their lives. So when it comes time to make really important decisions, like should I take on student loan debt, or should I maybe go to a community college for 2 years and lower the cost of my education, that they're better able to make informed decisions about their own well-being. Right. It's a really amazing organization. One of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to get public schools across the United States to make personal finance a required course.
Right, as it should be.
And for any of you that are watching this, if you work at a public school and you're able to get personal finance to become an actual required course, Next Gen Personal Finance has a financial incentive to reward your school for doing so and to support your school for doing so. So if you are interested in doing that and want to champion those efforts at a school, definitely look into the work that they're doing. At HCC, I'm trying to get personal finance, which is a course that I teach, to become a general education course over the next year. That way more students will have access to it, and while it's later than high school and middle school, it's better to get exposure to it at that point than at no point.
Right, absolutely. As long as it's at some point, you know,
exactly.
that's what's key. Wow. Well, just a couple segments is not enough time with Andy Gold. We definitely have to schedule some time when we have you come back on. Absolutely. I think you were on maybe March. It was a few months ago, but we'll work on getting Andy back in August with us. So, and I know we have your information and your email. So, any questions about the event coming up for Susie Steiner or even personal finance, make sure you reach out to Andy. He can forward you those event information. It sounds like a great cause.
And follow me on Twitter at Prof. Andy Gold. Lisa will be happy that I'm promoting my Twitter handle there. She was very instrumental in helping me to build an audience, so I'll never forget her very insightful and sage advice.
Yes, Lisa Demi will be on one of our future shows coming up with Getting the Edge. So again, Andy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me anytime.
Thank you. In the meantime, check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. Make sure you check us out next week. And in the meantime, never stop dreaming. Thanks.